近日，美国国会众议员刘云平 Ted Lieu 访问佛罗里达州，出席了帕克兰市玛乔里斯通曼道格拉斯高中 Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School 枪击案7周年纪念活动，并参加了迈阿密召开的人工智能 AI 大会。作为加州国会议员，刘云平近年来在民主党内影响力持续上升，目前已是众议院民主党第4号人物。随着2026年中期选举的临近，民主党有望在未来重新掌控众议院，而刘云平被认为是潜在的众议院议长候选人之一。如果他成功晋升议长，这无疑将提升华裔乃至整个亚裔群体在美国政坛的代表性。2月15日晚，在美国华人联合会 UCA 主席薛海培的倡议下，佛州中华同乡总会会长潘增焰召集南佛州华人社区，在迈阿密举办了一场募捐晚宴，以彰显华人社区对刘云平议员的支持。现场气氛热烈，华人代表就移民政策、枪支管控及亚裔权益等话题进行了深入交流。在当前两党竞争日益激烈的背景下，刘云平议员对美国政局进行了分析。特朗普政府执政以来，不仅面临全球经济放缓的挑战，同时也在与时间赛跑，希望在短时间内推动改革。由于2026年中期选举后，共和党可能失去众议院控制权，特朗普政府的改革窗口期可能仅剩2年。因此，他通过行政命令加速推行一系列政策，包括严打非法移民、精简政府机构，并在财政部、国防部和美联储等多个敏感部门展开审计。与此同时，他在企业界盟友的支持下，削减了部分政府部门，以推动更精简的行政管理模式。在国际事务方面，美国副总统万斯近期在慕尼黑安全会议上的表态引发关注。他明确指出，美国的安全担忧并非来自中俄，而是欧洲内部自身的问题。因此，美国政府计划在欧洲推进更彻底的美式改革。这一立场势必会加剧美国与欧洲盟友之间的紧张关系，使美国外交政策走向更加不确定的未来。目前来看，特朗普政府似乎正在调整对欧洲和乌克兰的支持策略，但他的最终目标是什么？是联俄抗中，还是联俄不抗中，甚至是联俄联中，走人类共同繁荣、共同发展的道路？刘云平议员在募捐晚宴上，从民主党的角度对这些问题进行了深入剖析，并就移民政策和国际关系提出了自己的见解。
刘云平国会议员，我的妈妈在福建生的，我的爸爸在河北生的，我在台湾生的，3岁半来美国，谢谢你们来。So I'm Congressman Ted Lieu. I'm so honored that you all did this event for me, and I'm here with my wife Betty. Betty, in addition to being a love of my life, she is also a school board member in our hometown of Torrance and a California Special Education Commission. So I'm going to share with you my story, and then I'm going to talk to you about what's happening in Washington, D.C., and then talk about what's happening with the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander communities, and then happy to answer any questions that you may have. So I first of all want to thank Taipei for helping to put this together, and for calling Jesse, who then helped put this together. This food, by the way, was amazing.
Oh, so good.
So good. Thank you. This food is really amazing. So my story is the same as many of yours, or your parents or your grandparents. I am an immigrant, and when I came to America, my parents decided to go to Cleveland, Ohio, and we were poor at the beginning. My parents and I, we lived in the basement of a person's home. They went to flea markets and sold gifts and jewelry to make ends meet. They worked hard, and after many years, they opened one gift store in the shopping center, and then they saved their money, worked 7 days a week, opened one gift and jewelry store in a shopping mall. My brother and I, we helped watch the store, so we were free labor, but eventually they expanded to multiple stores. In my mind, they achieved the American dream. They went from being poor to a home, gave my brother and I a great education. My brother is now a doctor, and my parents still remind me of that. But it's one reason I joined the U.S. Air Force on active duty. I believe I can never get back to America. Everything this amazing country has given to me and my family. One reason I also chose to remain in the reserves. I served 4 years active duty and then served an additional 21 years in the reserves. I retired last term. It's also one reason that I'm in politics, to make sure that this dream remains open for people who want to work hard to succeed. My story is not even that unique, right? It occurs to millions of people across generations, but very few countries allow this to happen. After active duty Air Force, I went and worked in the legal profession. I'm also a recovering lawyer. And I then worked at UBS Financial Services. I was elected to city council and then the state legislature. And now I'm in my 6th term in Congress. I was elected as vice chair of the House Democratic Caucus, which is the number 4 position within Democratic Caucus. The way we're set up, our leaders, Hakeem Jeffries, our whip is Catherine Clark, the chair is Peter Aguilar, and I'm the vice chair. And we're trying to make sure that we can stop stupid stuff from happening and then flip the House in 2 years. So in Washington, D.C., we've seen the Trump administration issue a number of executive orders which are brazenly illegal and unconstitutional. The courts have stopped a number of these orders, and their judges that have been appointed by Ronald Reagan, George Bush, and Trump himself have halted a number of these actions. So, for example, a judge halted the birthright citizenship order that was going to eliminate birthright citizenship. A judge halted the mass firing of over 2,000 USAID employees. A judge halted and attempted to freeze all government payments. A judge halted essentially the ability of the Trump administration to have Elon Musk get your Social Security number and just rifle through all this sensitive information. And so a lot of these cases are ongoing. There's going to be continual litigation, but we do see our judiciary standing up and just applying the law and halting a lot of these orders. Now, some of them are not illegal, and some of them are not unconstitutional. So those were not either not challenging or they're going to win in court. But for a number of these orders, the Trump administration is losing and will continue to lose in court. At the same time, the Democrats in the House have a mobilization strategy and a legislative strategy. So we're also introducing bills that would stop some of this. So I'm a co-author of the Taxpayer Data Protection Act that basically says you can't have a 19-year-old and Elon Musk getting your Social Security number and just rifling through all this sensitive information. You may have seen recently those, what they call themselves, they post classified information on the website. So there's a lot of not very good stuff that is happening, right? We're trying to stop. And then we're trying to mobilize people across America to raise their voices. I think Abraham Lincoln had it right when he said public sentiment is everything. With it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. So I want all of you to understand your own power to shape public sentiment. And some of you are already doing that through nonprofits you have created, through your organizing efforts. That's all very, very helpful. Social media is free, right? You write an interesting post on social media, and maybe someone in Ohio reads it, or in Texas. Think about writing letters to the editor. It is true, lots of people write letters to the editor. Also true, many of them come from the same people. So when you start writing, you're going to get published eventually. You start changing hearts and minds. And just start raising your voices, and that's all really, really helpful. And so now let me conclude about some issues with the Asian American community. So it's horrible what Florida has done with a number of these very draconian laws targeted at Chinese people. And not only are they, to me, unconstitutional and discriminatory, but there's no evidence that it does one thing to help mass security. Right? They're completely, fully, in my view, unrelated to any attempt at actually trying to resolve any mass security issues. So we just have to keep fighting back, and you don't know when something will change in your favor, but if you don't fight back, it'll never happen, right? So we're basically fighting, and hopefully we can get some changes. In Congress, I'm a co-author of two bills that would bar states from passing these alien land laws. I call this basic Chinese example the 2.0, which is what it is. So not going to pass this term under Republican control, but we If we flip the House, then we can try to have that bill pass the House. We're only 3 seats away from flipping the House, so it's very, very close in the U.S. Congress. Historically, every new president has lost the House in the next midterm election. So we're historically on very solid footing. And I think this is the closest House we've had in a very, very long time. So in the past, we had to flip 30-some seats. This time, we just flipped 3 seats. So we feel pretty good about flipping the House, but we have to work at it. Other issues affecting the Asian American community, at least at the national level, we do see Republicans trying to put in the China initiative again. So let me take a step back. The China initiative was put in the first Trump administration, and we fought back against it. And when the Biden administration came in, we met with Attorney General Merrick Garland. I'm on the House Judiciary Committee. He came in for a hearing. I publicly questioned him about the China initiative. We did a press conference. We wrote op-eds. We got the members of the Congressional Asian Pacific Caucus to fight back. And the Department of Justice, to Merrick Garland's credit, eliminated the China initiative. Now, Republicans are trying to put it back through law. Hopefully, we can stop that. And so far, the Senate has not passed the House bill to do that. We'll see what the new Department of Justice does with the China initiative. But what we saw is simply the indiscriminate targeting of primarily Chinese American professors. The Department of Justice has an astoundingly high conviction, something about 95% or so. So if you're indicted by the Department of Justice, you're in big trouble. Except when it came to the China initiative. The Department of Justice was losing these cases. And there was this one case of Professor Ming Hu that many of you are familiar with, and UCA worked on it, and I've made others. If you look at it, the federal judge entered an order that basically said, even looking at all their evidence in a light most favorable to the prosecution, no reasonable jury could have found that Professor Hu had committed any crime. So what that told me is that if Professor Hu's last name was Smith, he never would have been dead. So there was basically this huge pressure for the Department of Justice to just bring these cases, primarily against Chinese professors that really had no basis in fact. So hopefully they're not going to restart that up again, but I don't know. I don't know what this new Department of Justice is going to do. We just keep fighting back. Let me end on some hopeful news. According to the last 2 U.S. Census reports, Asian Americans are the fastest growing group in America. Asian Americans have more than doubled in size since 2000. And the Pew Research organization put out a report a few years ago saying that by 2055 or sooner, Asian Americans will become the largest immigrant group in America. And so now is an exciting time to be part of the Asian American community. And we need legal leaders like you to continue stepping up. And I do believe that we're going to be able to turn this country around in 2 years, if not sooner. Thank you so much for coming here and doing this fundraiser, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I would like to know your game.
No, that's a great question. So let me take a step back. The reason you see Donald Trump issuing all these executive orders, he's really bad at getting laws passed, right? Because to get a law passed, you need to have the majority of the House. You have to clear filibuster in the Senate. To get permanent change, you have to get laws passed. Because any executive order that Trump issues, a new executive can revoke. Right? So if you flip the House, you're going to stop any possibility of any really bad laws passing. Because the Democrat House will just stop.
Including the executive orders?
No. So executive orders are what the president issues to affect the executive branch.
Yeah.
right? But let's say the president wants to change legal immigration, right? Only way he can do that is he has to change an immigration law. And to do that, he needs a House of Representatives to pass a change to the immigration law, right? Can't do that through executive order. So let's say Trump says, you know what? I don't want to have any more Asian Americans come to the United States.
No,
He can't do that through executive order.
Yeah.
To do that, you need a change to the law.
right.
So once the House flips, there's no possibility of any changes in the law in any area that is going to be very harmful because the Democratic House just won't pass it. Right? So we can stop, at least we can do that. We will also try to affirmatively pass laws to reverse any damage that's been done in these 2 years.
Yeah.
And we'll have a lot of leverage through appropriations and funding bills. So if they, let's say, wanted, right now in their budget, they have a huge cut
Yeah.
to healthcare,
Right.
and they have huge tax breaks for billionaires, right? If we gain the House, we won't do that again, and we will try to reverse some of them. So those are some of the things we'll try to do if we flip the House. I mean, we would also, right, pass a number of measures, such as gun safety measures.
Right.
We would also try to pass measures that affect people's civil rights and make sure we're not discriminated against. And we've got a number of bills that we believe we can pass the House. Not clear us down, Trump would sign those bills, but we would still pass them through the House and try to at least give them things.
Thank you.
not just talking means the doable. What do you can do?
So it's actually less than 2 years, right? Because a lot of states have early voting, right? And so it's coming sooner than you think. So clearly financial resources are helpful, but also again, just think of your own power to affect public sentiment, right? What people are talking about, what people are hearing. By the way, I'm glad you do a newspaper, right? You could write things in a newspaper to try to educate people.
How can you play?
Right. Yes, you can neutrally put out facts, right? That basically say, look, this is basically what has happened, and then people can decide for themselves how they want to deal with it. But at least you can educate people. It says, well, yeah, look, the president just leveled 10% tariffs on China. That's going to increase costs. It's just a fact. So, in terms of helping folks flip the house, so in addition to financial resources, think about helping organizations. So there are a number of nonprofit organizations, both Asian American as well as non-Asian American, that are very useful to also shaping public sentiment and fighting back on the courts. Any organization that speaks to your values, think about supporting them. It's helpful to just show up at places. So if you think your local school board or local city council is doing something really stupid, show up and say something. They all have oral times for people to give their oral recommendations to the city council members and school board members. So Betty's on a school board every week. They have time allotted for people from the community to come in and tell the school board things they're doing right or doing wrong. So there's lots of things you can do at the local level. And a number of them aren't even partisan. They're just issues that may affect you or your neighbor or your community that you feel passionate about. I would just try to speak up and show up and get people ready for the day. That's really important.
Yeah, Mr. Jargon is scientific and
So the president might be able to do an executive order in terms of federal properties. It's not clear to me that is a possibility. They'll probably be litigated, so I don't know enough about the constitutional power of the president to do that for properties owned by federal agencies. maybe. I'm not sure the answer is to that. Clearly, the president can't affect non-federal government. He doesn't have that power. The China initiative issues will pass the House, but it's got to clear a Senate filibuster, so I don't know if it passes the Senate filibuster. That's what it is.
Senate's comment of the reintroduce for them to direct them.
It doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
就你这个难题有没有any challenge? You know, outside the
You would need 7 Democrats to support on the Senate side. I don't know if there are 7 Democrats. You might have a few.
Yeah, sometimes it's low. It's more like over 50% in party, and then some more only like.
Yeah, it gets a little confusing. So in the House of Representatives, it's completely majority rule. So in the House of Representatives, you only need 50% plus 1, 51%.
Yeah.
In the U.S. Senate, for issues specifically related to, it's a very technical term, budget reconciliation, it's 51%. Everything else, you have to get 60%.
Always other national time. For last year in Florida and other states, Chinese community intuited that that's a place that they said, rationale that that's the last that we have. So, thank you for the over and for the open all of that.
Thank you. So every American president, including Donald Trump, in his first term, followed. Last week at a press conference, in his first term, Donald Trump criticized judges. He's criticizing judges now. But he also just made a straight-up statement that said, I always abide by court. So that's what the president said last week. So I don't think he's going to just ignore court. And if you look at what they're doing in court, I'll give an example. There was a funding freeze. The judge halts the funding freeze. And then some people are like, hey, some of these payments are still being frozen. So they went back into court, and it turned out what the Trump administration said is, look, Mr. Judge, you halted this executive order, but there's this other executive order that had a funding freeze that you didn't halt. And the judge said, look, I meant to do both of them. But the Trump administration did not say, you, Judge, have no power to do this. That was not their so I do think they'll follow executive order, court orders. It doesn't mean they won't try to make legal arguments to escape them or to limit them or so on. But every litigant does it. Right? And so far it appears they are following court orders. And I just want to sort of give you sort of my view on none of these laws in Florida, and thank you for your comments. So I am an American member of Congress, and I represent Americans. Now, sometimes, right, there are laws that are so xenophobic, it affects Americans who happen to be of Asian descent. So the alien land law is a great example. When you have a law like that, then basically it causes everyone at real estate show, right? Real estate agents, to brokers, to banks, to look at anyone with a funny sounding last Asian name to also get higher scrutiny. And then that starts affecting Americans who happen to be Asian. And to me, it's just unconstitutional. And so that is sort of the rationale for the bill in Congress I'm a co-author to reverse the rating. And look at your allies, right? So the National Association of Realtors is a important organization in Washington, D.C. They're very opposed to these alien land laws. And so think of what folks you can partner with to sort of push back.
So the question is so we talk about why is this happening?
Oh, sure.
Can you give us a few words to the Chinese community in the Miami?
So first of all, it's freezing in Washington, D.C., so this weather is great, right? So one reason I came here was Parkland, they have a mass shooting, Marjory Stoneman School. Their 7th anniversary was yesterday. So Betty and I were with Congressmember Jerry Moskowitz. There was an event to honor those responders with 17 beautiful lives that were taken from peace. So there was one reason I became the Senator. I'm also a recovering computer science major, and I was the co-chair of the House Bipartisan Task Force on AI, and there was an information technology and AI conference in South Florida, so I came and spoke at that as well.
So it's what's the exact destination is the executive order said is for the legal immigrants.
Sure. So both Democratic and Republican administrations have been removing immigrants who don't have documentation who committed crimes. And so under Biden administration, every week they were deporting undocumented immigrants who had committed crimes. They just didn't talk about it. The Trump administration talks about it, right? And does these raids and they get media and they make a big deal. But it's been happening week after week after week, year after year across administrations. So what is new is if the Trump administration does what Donald Trump says he wants to do, which is mass deportations, which would then go beyond undocumented aliens who commit crimes to just anyone who's undocumented. If he does that, that would cause enormous, not only chaos, but it would start affecting any mixed status family, right? There are families where you have an American citizen and maybe the spouse is not documented, or it will affect a lot of these industries that rely on labor where the person may or may not be documented, and that's going to drive up prices even more. The administration so far has not done that. So we'll see if they do that. Right now, they're basically doing what the Biden administration did. They're just talking about what they're doing. But as long as they just focus on undocumented aliens who have a criminal record, I don't think it'll be that disruptive. But if they go beyond that, it could be really disruptive.
Would matter what their status is. If you are undocumented, you should probably